Hello guys and welcome to Star Technology. Now this right here is a GregTech-focused pack that starts off in a Skyblock and takes us through different dimensions, dimensional travel. Now I will have to mention that this pack isn't complete yet, it's in development, but there's a lot of content that is in the pack right now and it is pretty playable. So let's dive right into it, shall we? Now I have played this pack before in an older version and have actually beaten it once. Let's get us out in here. But we haven't really, I haven't really been testing out the new updates after that. So right now we're in Zeta hotfix 5, and I'm sure more versions will release after that, and more content will be released. But I have been excited to try out some of the new content. I have been lurking around checking what new things were added to the pack. Apparently, a lot of end-game stuff, a lot of dimensional travel, new recipes. So the initial goal here was to make the Stargate, but now they added content past the Stargate, so I'm really excited to try it out. And yeah, let's get right into it. Now, the beginning of the pack is just your usual Skyblock stuff. So you punch some wood, you make yourself a crafting table. We do have the sneak mod in here, so you either run around or you sneak repeatedly and the tree will grow faster. Should probably check out the quests as well. Let's all go ahead and tick off everything. I will link the modpack download link as well as their Discord in the description down below if you want to check them out. There we go, we're done with this. So now we can start in the early game. Ready, set, go. Let's do this. So the first thing we want to do obviously is just start the normal Skyblock stuff. So we start by making things like a crucible, a sieve, things like that. Another thing we need to make is a wooden crook, and that basically allows us to obtain more saplings and even silkworms from the trees, which is how you get string to make the sieves. As you can see, we have some silkworm, and this will probably be our food source for quite some time, but I will mention that we are playing on peaceful mode here. The pack is fully playable in peaceful mode, and I assume this is how it's intended to be played anyway, so I'm going to be staying in peaceful for the time being. So now that we have a decent amount of saplings, we can now right click into the water here. This thing can take 4 saplings only, and it's slowly gonna generate us water, and we can then make an infinite water source after that. But moving away from that, we should probably get started making the sieves, because this is how you generate resources in a skyblock. And the way you do that, if I can get out of here, is you right click the leaves with a silkworm, as you can see, and it will infest and spread throughout the leaves, although I probably need to expand the island a little bit and make some space. In the meantime, we can kind of AFK a little bit here and start shift and right clicking for stone here. As you can see, this gives us some pebbles which we can then turn into actual cobblestone. Yeah, right clicking is a huge part of this skyblock pack. Who would have thought? And here we are, just in time for our leaves to be fully infested. As you can see, they all turn white when they're infested. You need to hold our crook and destroy them. As you can see, we get a lot of string and some of our silkworm back, so that's great. These strings can be crafted like so into some sieves. We are going to craft only 8 as... Actually, you know what? Let's craft 9. Now the maximum sieving area is a 5x5, so 25 sieves, but I prefer to keep it a little more compact so that we can actually gather the resources. I'll also go ahead and create some slabs here just to expand the island a little bit, and there is effortless building in this pack, meaning that we can just simply do that and expand the island like so. There we go, easy as that. The next step here for us is of course to actually craft the sieves, and we will be making 9 as we just said. As you can see, we need to make sure we follow up with the quest. We don't want to be skipping through. We do want to gather all the rewards. And basically I just want to place them in a 3x3 formation like so. We place dimensions inside, and just like normal sieving works, you need a hammer first in order to crush them down. Here we go, we have a stone hammer. Now we can just place the cobblestone and turn it into gravel, just like you would in any regular skyblock, and then right click into the sieve in order to get some resources. As you can see, we have iron, sphalerite, magnetite, tin. Magnetite is basically iron, sphalerite is zinc, and we have copper. The next step here would be to make a furnace so that we can actually process these resources into their respective materials. Obviously, processing will get a lot more complicated as we move forward, but for now, this is really our only way to extract our resources. Let's also go ahead and claim our quest rewards. We have our star coins here, star T coins, and down here in the shop tab of the quest, we can actually buy random things using these star coins. Now we can buy a starter gear for 4 of them, which I will be doing. This gives us a bunch of tools and chests, just some starter tools as you can see, and yeah, that will be pretty useful early game here. We do even have a satchel which you can store some of the tools that we don't use for the time being. This diamond hammer is used for crushing stone as well, so this will come in handy soon. We do have a few chests which we'll actually be replacing very, very soon, but for now we can use it to store some of the things we have. Okay, so it seems like the hammer quest actually requires you to make multiple things from the cobblestone, so you make sand and dust. So it's back to right clicking for me. Okay, so we do have a decent amount of stone pebbles at this point. We can go ahead and craft some cobblestone, and I think we should probably crush quite a bit of it into gravel now, so that should be enough, I think. There we go. And just for the quest, we can go ahead and get some sand. There we go, and some gravel. Or dust, not gravel. There we go. This gravel can obviously be sipped for resources, and so can these other things be. As you can see, there's a GI page for it. And in this modpack, there is no different meshes for this thing. Well, there is for some things, but not for the usual gravel or whatever. As you can see, for if we go to gravel here, for example, there's only a flint mesh or a string mesh, I don't know mesh, a string mesh. Since resource generation will get a little bit more complicated as we move on, it will get a little different. So I'm pretty excited for that. There are a lot of custom mechanics in this pack, so I'm looking forward to that. But I do want to crush some gravel into sand and actually get some resources here. Alright, it is now night time, and as you can see, our water source is actually ready now. So what we can do is we can actually make a bucket here, a wooden bucket, just a basic version. We can grab that wooden bucket and we can then place even more saplings inside so that we can get our second bucket of water so that we can make an infinite water source. I was just about to make an infinite water source here and set it up, but yeah, I've seen something a little weird here. Can you guys tell what that is? It says thank you for something. 1 million downloads. Oh, that's nice. So what now? We have done our basic skyblock things, right? We have gotten our crucible, we've made some water, we have gotten our sieves. So what's next? Well, what's next is that we need to automate some cobblestone, and for that we need to go for the stone barrel here. As you can see, this thing has a multi-block structure as well, but we won't look into that for now. Basically, this thing takes water and lava. It doesn't consume the lava though, and it gives us free cobblestone every now and then. So I do want to aim for that. The first thing we need to do though is we need to get some lava in order to actually power this thing, right? Because it requires lava for the recipe. And to get lava, we need to go through a bit of a chain here. So the first thing we need to do is make some bone meal using a composter. So here is a composter and the quest. Now, you might be wondering, how are we going to actually make a lot of bone meal from this thing? We don't actually need a lot, we just need 7 bone meal, but how are we going to make bone meal from this? And the answer here is actually within the leaves themselves. So we have smelted some iron previously, as you might remember, we have gotten some iron. And what we could do now is craft some shears and actually use the leaves in order to gather our bone meal. And I cannot see anything here. There we go. So as you can see, this gives us a ton of leaves, and all of these can be used for the composter. As you can see already, 1 bone meal, and we just need to keep doing that until we get 7 in order to make the fired crucible, which is the unfired crucible, the porcelain clay, which is bone meal and clay. Clay is going to be another thing, but it's not going to be too complicated, so I'm not too worried about that. Alright, so I've gotten a little bit of bone meal here. We've got more than we want, but that's fine. So now what we need to do is we actually need to make some clay in order to be able to make this, and the only way to do that is to use the wooden barrel. Now obviously there is another way, which is the actual barrel itself from Exniello, or whatever it's pronounced. But this thing is kind of slow and manual, so I'd ideally want to get this wooden barrel. This is basically a machine that allows you to either soak things, compost things, or transform things. Now in our case here, we'd want to ideally soak here, which is going to be soaking the dust into clay, as you can see, in water. And speaking of water, our infinite water source is still not ready yet. This is going to take quite some time. So with that said, let's actually take the time to make the machine itself, and I'll meet you then. And here we go, we have our wooden barrel. And as you can see, this thing basically takes no power. You place it down and then you can just do whatever you want. Now this has been made to be like a GregTech machine, so it has multiple modes, it has the inputs and the outputs, but it doesn't take any power. So all we need to do now is wait for this thing to finish and we should be able to continue progressing. Alright, and a bit more waiting later, we have our second water source. We can go ahead and make an infinite one. And as you can see, we have our barrel here. Let's actually move it closer to make it easier for us to put the water in. So what you do is you put the water in here, and then you have the sand. We do have a bit of gravel here, so let's crush some down with 7, I think. So here's 7 sand, and then 7 dust. And basically what we do is we place the dust in, and yep, there we go, we have clay. And I realized I actually made more than I need. This thing gives me clay blocks. I need the actual clay, which gives us 4, so still not a bad thing. We will need a lot of clay moving forward, so it's fine. So technically we have enough clay now in order to make what we want. So what we want to do is make porcelain clay from clay and bone meal, and then we want to make that in a cauldron shape here to make the unfired crucible. Let me just make sure we're getting the quests all right, and then we go ahead and smelt it here, and this should give us the fired crucible, which should be a quest. Yep. And basically what this thing does is it takes a heat source underneath and generates you lava from different rocks. So I'll just place it over here. Now we don't have a heat source so far, but we can make one. We do have logs, so we can technically make charcoal. Now campfires have a higher heat source than torches. The higher the heat source, the more the heat source, the faster it generates lava. It's pretty slow anyway, but it's gonna be a little faster, and we'll take what we can get at this point, right? So all we need to do is smelt 1 log into charcoal, and we can also make some sticks to make the campfires. We will need campfires moving forward anyway in order to make some resources. There are some cheat recipes in this pack, but basically now we can go ahead and make a campfire. There we go. Is it a quest? Over here, yeah, see, there's wrought iron, for example. We make it in a campfire. Anyway, we place the campfire down here, and now we can actually, you can see the smoke coming up from it. We can now make whatever lava we want out of any rock. So basically, you right click 4 rocks into the cauldron, basically cobblestone, blackstone, andesite, diorite, anything, and this should start generating lava. As you can see, this thing generates me 4 millibuckets per second or so. If it was a torch, it would be 1 or 2, one of these. So definitely faster, but not nearly as fast as I'd like it to be. So yeah. So in order to make the large barrel, we won't actually need anything. We won't need any GregTech related tools, but it does tell us here to make the tools before we go into this one. Now all of these are actually optional quests except for the hammer, which is kind of the only tool we want at the time being. Problem is it does take a lot of iron, so it's back to sieving it is then. Now with some of the iron that we have, we can actually make a chisel over here, which basically allows us to decorate some blocks. As you can see, it's a quest. It allows us to decorate some blocks with different patterns, and we can even enable connected textures. We can see how they look here in the preview, as a wall, as a floor, whatever we want. We can stop, we can continue, and I'd probably want to make heavy use of this, as I always have done. So we actually want this kind of texture here, and I do kind of have a base plan for what we're gonna have moving forward, but for now the early game base is really just gonna be wooden cobblestone, so I might as well make it look good. So I'll use this pulverized cobblestone here as well as the large oak plank tiles, and you'll see how that looks in a second. So what I'm planning is that we'll have just the walkways be made out of this cobblestone and the floor in general, and we'll have the borders be wood, like so. Now as I said, I do have a better plan for base design, blocks and whatever, but this is just for the early game, just the cheapest resources we can use so far. And our iron has been kind of smelted here, but that should be enough for us to make a hammer. As you can see, it's 6 iron with a stick, and we have a GregTech hammer. Now this thing is usually used for making plates and various resources. So as you can see, there are various crafting recipes that take the hammer, as well as just the plates in general and rings and just the micro crafting things. Now hammers, they don't really matter in this pack here. Not that they don't matter, but they're not as heavily used because we do have create in this pack, and the mechanical press does make us plates with a 1-to-1 ratio, so we don't really have to settle for the inefficiency. But now that we actually have some iron, let's actually go ahead and make some wrought iron just to collect the quest. And as you can see, it's just like a normal campfire recipe. You right click and you wait, and here we go, we have the wrought iron. We can also start our road path into create, but I do want to kind of keep that for another episode, maybe the next episode. For now, I do want to look into automating some cobblestone, maybe making the coke oven. I don't know, we'll see. For now though, let's actually focus on making the stone barrel itself. Now this thing can take diorite, but we just need a stone slab, so we will need to smelt stone anyway. And we are out of cobblestone, so I'll just have to keep doing a bit more right clicking. So here we go, and we can make the stone barrel. Wow, that is a random amount of stone here, but there we go. And essentially what this thing does is, as I said, it makes cobblestone, but it can also make things like blackstone, obsidian, and I guess tempered glass, which we won't really be making much use of here, but you know, it's a neat thing to have. So our lava has been finished at this point, and we can go ahead and just place this wherever we want. Now I am planning on using a little bit of create in order to automate this thing. So basically we would have random pipes that go from a water source. Now we do need a way to generate water, and I do actually have one, which is this guy over here, the aqueous accumulator. And this thing needs blackstone, which needs witch water, which is an entire new line. So first of all, we need to make a mud, which is in a barrel with dirt and water. But hold on, you might be asking yourself right now, how do we even get dirt? And the first step to getting dirt would actually be collecting dirt. Shockingly, you know. We only need 2 pieces of dirt, but you know, the more the better, I guess, the faster. And we need to basically perform some kind of almost duplication glitch. So basically with gravel and dirt, if we put them in a cross pattern like so, we can go ahead and make coarse dirt, 4 of them. And if we sieve that coarse dirt, it's going to give us extra dirt. As you can see, we get 5 dirt. The only thing it really consumes here is the gravel. It can give us some of the gravel back, but it's not a guarantee. So we do need to have a decent supply of gravel. And basically we repeat this cycle. So we have the coarse dirt. So this time we made 8, more than before. And now if we sieve again, as you can see, we get so much more dirt. Alright, so now we have over a stack of dirt. I think this should be fine for the time being. Let's refill the bowl we just made here. And we can go ahead and start soaking this thing. Now there's no easy way to do it in this tier. We just need to keep using the bucket, which is over here. We just need to keep using the bucket and putting it in like so. We have mud. Now the quest asks us for all of the mud byproducts here. So there's a sieving recipe for mud here, as you can see. It gives us mycelium spores, sugarcane, mangrove roots, and some sake spores. Now we are interested in this, but it's not really relevant at this time being. But we are interested in the mycelium spores, and these are the ones that allow you to actually, well, make whatever we're looking for here, which is the witch water. As you can see, witch water is a combination of mycelium spores and water. It's not consumed, so if we get one, then we're good to go. Witch water is then used in order to make blackstone. So as you can see, witch water and lava is used to make blackstone in the same barrel we just made a second ago. And then after that we can sieve it for lead, and then we can get the aqueous accumulator. Yeah, it's a long chain. Oh, this actually didn't take as long as I thought. Second attempt. Great. Now this wooden bucket does have a durability, so we'll have to make one up pretty soon, but this is good for now. We have the quest. We can now make witch water, which again is just mycelium spores and water. And we do need to combine it with lava that we just produced over here in order to get whatever we want the blackstone. So to do this quickly, we take the lava and the bucket is over there. I should have maybe done it with a higher durability bucket. That's fine, we can make some more lava, but we will need to make sure to use a higher durability bucket moving forward, because lava does consume the bucket's durability and it makes it so that it's unable to carry the lava, basically, if it breaks. We do also need more logs, so let's get working on that. Now the witch water recipe is actually under barrel transformation here, so what we need to do is go to change mode here and select the barrel transformation, and it should start the recipe. Yeah, there we go. Just needs a little update. As you can see, it's a 20-second recipe and it should produce a switch water. Now we don't need a lot of blackstone. We just need enough for 4 pieces of lead. Now in the quest book here, there is an information scanner tab, so when it becomes relevant, it does tell you go read about whatever it is that you go read, and then you go through into the mechanics. And after check this, as you can see, there's the ghost circuits here, so there's a lot of information popping up here. I will try and explain everything as I go as much as possible. So basically what they're referring to here, the ghost circuit, is these guys, and basically these determine what recipe you run. These aren't really super relevant at this point in the game, as there's only a handful of recipes you can run in these basic machines, but they are telling us about it. For example, here it does require ghost circuit, for example, in order to produce something. So here you have lava and water, same recipe, but if you have ghost circuit 0, it produces cobblestone. If you have ghost circuit 1, it produces obsidian, and the way you change it is from down here. So as you can see, this is 0, this is 1, and to remove it, just click on that right here. Currently this isn't relevant to us too much. It's just mainly relevant when we start using the stone barrel and making multiple things. But yeah, as you can see, we need to be quick with it because it does lose durability as we go. But as you can see, if we put in here, the bucket is just gone. But we do need a certain circuit number in order to make blackstone, so let's check what this is. It's circuit 0. So we go ahead and put circuit 0. As you can see, the lava isn't consumed, but we get blackstone, and this is exactly what we need. Now we do need a quest for rich water, which requires the actual buckets. So let's go ahead and smelt a bit more iron so that we can actually make more of that bucket, since we really don't want to be skipping any quests here and there. It's a good thing I started this early on. So now we can actually make our iron plates, and here is our bucket. Now I have made an extra bucket of witch water, or will be made. Here we go. So now we can go ahead and get the quest. There we go, and the quest for blackstone. See, that's a good thing about the newer versions, is that they actually count the quests before you do them, so it's fine if you skip ahead, but I will, just in case, go through the order, because I'm not too sure about that. So now that we have our blackstone, let's hope we actually get enough from this, but we can go ahead and crush it down into crushed blackstone, which will complete the quest, and we can go ahead and sieve that. Let's hope we get enough. I think this can be smelted to lead. No, this is antimony. Okay, nope, we need more. GregTech. Yeah. Something I discovered you can actually do here is just you can set auto fluid output to the stone barrel, and it will automatically output the witch water byproduct. So as you can see here, after the recipe is done, as you can see, it will automatically output and make us 3 blackstone. So it does work with these no power machines, the primitive machines. You can go ahead and set auto output or whatever. You can even just output back into the chest here, for example, and it will work, but I don't really want to do that. I'd rather pick it up by hand here at this point. Alright, and we do have enough lead. Alright, so you joined me back quite a bit after the last cut, actually, because I did have some issues with the recording software, but I think they should be all fixed now. Not a lot has happened ever since. I've just made a little platform here. It's incomplete, and I've just been getting the resources to get the aqueous accumulator. But I did run into an issue, which is that we need glass, which needs flint and quartz sand, meaning that we need more cobblestone, and I've actually completely ran out of cobblestone. We only have this one here, and hopefully then we should be able to make the cobblestone generator. Now I do have, I did make this redstone servo here, and if you're wondering how I'm making the plates, I'm using for the inefficient recipe for now. Alright, so essentially the way we want to get glass here, as the quest suggests here, we need to get glass dust first, which is from sand and flint, and I just realized here I've kind of, yeah, I haven't made them in the correct order, but that's fine. We can just convert this into a tiny pile and combine it with the quartz sand in order to get the glass dust that we need. I will go back and craft it. But yeah, this is basically how you make glass, and then you put the glass in a campfire, the glass dust in a campfire, and you take out the final piece of glass. It's really as greggy as it gets. Alright, and now with that glass, we should be able to pick up the aqueous accumulator, and we have the quest. Now this thing basically generates infinite water as long as it's in between 2 water sources. So if there's water here and here, it will generate infinite water source. Now we need a way to transfer this water source onto the stone barrel, which is going to be automating our cobblestone. Now we can just place it behind the stone barrel like this and expect it to output the water into the barrel. But there's a problem with that. Let's say we want to maybe make it a little faster in the future. We want to make an array of stone barrels. We don't want it to be made for only one, or maybe we want some for the wooden barrel to automate something or another, maybe witch water or something. So what I'm saying is that we need a way to kind of transfer the water around. And for that, we do need to actually get a bit into create. Now, I did say we weren't gonna do that, but I'm kind of not gonna. It's gonna be only for the pipe, for the fluid pipes, and some kind of way to generate rotation. So to get started, we can go ahead and make some andesite alloy, which let's make sure the quests are counting. Perfect. Now we need a few shafts here and there, so that's good. So now we can encase those with some wood, the shafts with some wood. We can get a water wheel, and I don't think we need to do that, but we will get the large water wheel anyway. So there we go. This is just a simple way to generate rotation. We will need the cogwheel as well, since it's kind of necessary in order to activate this pipe thing, the mechanical pump. Since the create pipes don't actually pump on their own, they don't extract water on their own, they have to have a mechanical pump next to them. So we can go ahead and make the fluid pipes. We only need like 8, I think. So I will need to smelt a bit more copper, which we do have some here, and I will be right back. Okay, so for now we can have the aqueous accumulator over here. I have picked up the mechanical pump and the fluid pipes. And this red spot over here, I assume is the output. Yeah, it's the only unique red spot. And what we need to do is we need to hold 2 water in between them. I did make a bed out of the string I had. I made some wool. It was getting a bit annoying being nighttime, so yeah. Now I could also make some trap doors here in order to keep the water out of just spilling everywhere. So here we go. The other side here in the void, we don't really matter. Again, we will make things look better. This is just a kind of temporary setup over here. And as you can see, it instantly generates water, infinite water that we can just keep picking up. Now, in terms of the piping, we basically need to have a mechanical pump like so. It's not unpowered yet. We need to actually power it using create. And then we can, it's pointing the wrong direction here. There we go. The arrows have to be pointing like so. And basically, I want to have an array of stone barrels here, like so. It would actually, you know what, that's fine. We can keep doing that. There we go. And now we can take our stone barrel here, and it will automatically hook up into one of the pipes, as you can see. We want to have one of the lava buckets be inside of the stone barrel, quickly. And what we want to do now is actually power this guy. So this guy is powered using the cogwheel on the side of it, or on the top, or whatever. There we go. Create even gives you a little kind of helper here to do that. So we can go ahead and place it. Now the problem here is we need some kind of way to place the water wheel. So we can go ahead and get the gearbox. So with an andesite casing and a few cogwheels, we can go ahead and make the gearbox. And that allows us to switch the orientation of our stress here. For example, we can actually go this direction now and over there, but previously we only had to go left or right. We can't go back and forth. So now that we have that, we can actually extend the shaft a little bit, and basically at the end of it here, what we want to have is our large water wheel. Just place it like so. Now I know that a large water wheel is probably an overkill for a pipe, but I do want to kind of, just in case, have it like so. And what we need now is to actually power it using water. Obviously it's a water wheel. So we just place it on one of the sides and it starts rotating. And our pump should start. There we go. It's starting to rotate and it is extracting water. Extremely slowly, mind you. I will need a higher tier, not higher tier. I will need to kind of speed this up a little bit, which I will do in between episodes. There is a kind of alternating way, or I will do it next episode. This isn't really an episode focused for create here, but if I go ahead and wait this to finish, and the cobblestone is on circuit nothing here. So if I put it like so and wait for the water to fill up, we should see that it produces our first piece of cobblestone. We can go ahead and place our barrel up here, set it to auto output up the top, and there we go. We now have infinite cobblestone generation. Now of course this can be upgraded and will be upgraded with the cogwheels here and there, or these, yeah, the cogwheels. There is a way to speed up create rotation, which speeds up the pump, which in turn speeds out the water here. But for now, this is a pretty good cobblestone generator. And with that said, I will wrap up the episode over here. As I said, I might upgrade this in between episodes. I might do a little bit of building back there just to get the place ready for create. In the next episode, hopefully we should be able to explore this section of the quest book and maybe even make our first few primitive machines like the coke oven and the blast furnace. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode.